Tech Credit Union, the better option for you and your money. Visit techcu.org or call 800-276-8324. Tech Credit Union, supporting union families every step of the way.
Introducing Powers Health, a health system with a new name and a strong legacy of caring for families in our community. One with a tradition of advanced specialized services and a vision for the future. One with a commitment to medical excellence and compassionate care. Everything we do, everything we believe, powers health.
Okay, you got me up over there. So we're doing this live, as we like to say. Okay, so we all set? So you see me yet? So I should be over there. Let me know. Do you have the mics turned up over there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it figured out.
So I hear you. Okay, so there we go. How's that? And then turn me up a little bit in my ears now. So we've been doing some more. There we go. Oh, a little down a little bit. Is it?
That's it. There's no in between.
It's like no in between?
No.
Uh-oh. Okay.
I think you're turned all the way up, but you're still kind of quiet.
Go the other way. So I should have, so yeah, no, we,
the one that you just showed me or no?
No, not that. Leave that alone. Leave that at +10. And then I'm talking about the headphones. Adjust the headphone levels on like
actually,
up at the top.
Never mind. You're pretty good.
Okay. So then in my ears, turn that up a little bit. The headphones. There you go. Perfect. Let's go. Yeah, perfect. There we go. Okay. Me and the boys had a late night tweaking stuff here. We're getting closer. I think we're getting to a point where we will finally have everything kind of worked out, levels evened out, everything working the way it's supposed to. But it's a process, especially when you we kind of just come in on Sunday nights when we can and work on stuff. So I should probably introduce myself. This is Monday morning. I'm Chuck. You're you. We are live here at the WGLB studios. It is the winter of Chuck's Discontent or Disconnect, depending on who you are, or Disco, as we just call it for short. So you can just call me Chuck of the Winter Space Disco. I like that. Bob tweaked our logo a little bit last week, and I'm digging it. So why don't we start with traffic and weather? So taking a look at traffic, not much to report here in Indiana. Things seem to be moving along slowly or quick. What was I saying? Things seem to be moving along well. Nothing, no slowdowns as of yet. The only real slowdown we see on the Illinois side, you have a little slowdown Bishop Ford into the Dan Ryan. Dan Ryan on in, still doing okay. Just a little slowdown around the circle as usual. Nothing else on the Illinois side. Everything else moving along well. How are things in the weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 24 degrees with highs of 45 and lows of 31. It's going to be mostly sunny and not as cold today. And then later tonight should be cloudy with spotty drizzle late. And then tomorrow and Tuesday we'll be having highs of 44 and lows of 33. Should be cloudy with a shower. And then Wednesday we'll be having highs of 49 and lows of 42. It'll be mostly cloudy with a little rain in the afternoon.
So we're going to test our new. I've been asking people. I said I need a new theme song. So my friend Kevin out way out west in sunny California made me a couple of AIs. I think this is going to be my favorite. So why don't you go ahead and cue that up and play that, and we'll see what people think.
As naysayer of Hoosier land in the royal county of Lake, I welcome you to take and take and take. Politicians can cheat for stadiums and rails, and don't forget to tax for more bike trails.
Perfect. And then fantastic. So that is me as the mayor of Munchkin Land, apparently, talking about all my favorite taxes. So I think I mentioned Bob's out today. It's the first Monday of the month. So I've got a few guests coming in at 7 and 8 o'clock. And then do we have an 8:30 or 9? Like, what's our next? Do we have a show this morning?
We do.
You're going to tell me it's an 8 o'clock show?
I'm actually not too sure.
Uh-oh, I hope not. So you look. It's fine. So we'll look it up.
Looking right now.
And then, so we've got guests coming in. Obviously, the big story over the weekend is what's going on in Iran. We'll have all the latest. So I want to save all the Iran talk for the 7 o'clock hour. We've got one of my favorite people, Donna Dunn, coming in from Veterans Views. She's a Marine veteran herself, and we'll talk about sort of our perspective on things. And obviously, we'll hear from you guys on that as well. So in the meantime, what I want to do for the next hour, obviously, there's a lot of people tuning in today. So what's Chuck going to do? What's he going to say? We got phone calls. Okay. So I know there's a lot of people been messaging me over the weekend. What are you going to say about what happened last week? I said, well, I don't have a whole lot to say because I don't think just the back and forth is productive. But a lot of people have been asking about Chuck Pullen's agenda. I've been hearing a lot. I've been hearing that a lot the last few days, this last week. What is Chuck Pullen's agenda? Because certain people want to talk about my agenda. And everybody thought it was funny because those of you that have been listening all these years, you know what my agenda is. It's no secret. And that's what we're going to talk about today is what's my agenda. And we'll talk about what's your agenda. And I've always been very transparent about my agenda. If you get a chance, if you are a Chicago Tribune subscriber, after sort of what happened early last week, I had a reporter reach out to me from the Tribune asking to talk about something. So Robert McCoppin from the Tribune reached out on Wednesday, and he said, hey, I'm trying to get in touch with people that are against the Bear Stadium or have concerns about the Bear Stadium. And I said, kudos to you, Bob, because, here in the region, we never do that. We never reach out to the people that are losing their homes. We never talk about the people that are being affected. We just talk about how transformational these things are going to be. And we never bother to hear from the people that are affected by it. So kudos to him for doing something that they never do. And that's talk to both sides on an issue. And he actually said to me, he said, I was really surprised because nobody came out against it. I said, well, that's how that goes. Most people just feel defeated right out of the gate, because our voices don't matter. So the people that are against things, we are the cave-dwelling naysayers that get marginalized by our political leadership, by our media. And so this is sort of we'll just call Mondays here on WJLB a cave dweller safe space. So if you are a cave dweller, if you're a naysayer, if you're concerned about, mortgaging our future on top of existing mortgages, taking revenue that we don't even know will exist in 30 years and using that to, essentially bankrupt our children. You've got a safe place here. And I want to hear from you, 219-845-1100. So why don't we take some calls this morning and see I want to hear about your agendas out there. So let's take some callers. So good morning, caller. You are on the air. So turn the phone up. So hang on a second. We can't hear you. So hang on. So you've got, on the phone side over here, you got the phone up all the way over here on this side?
Yep.
Okay. You get the phone up, and then the gain knob? So turn the gain knob up a little bit. Okay, go ahead, caller. Are you there?
Now, Chuck, last night we had these phones working.
We didn't touch anything, Bob.
Something after I left.
We didn't touch anything.
Okay. No, it was working.
There we go, Lynette. There you go.
No, I was God's honest truth. I was just driving. I thought, I'm going to call in and I'm going to test this phone system live. You guys sound great on the phones.
Thank you.
I don't sense there's any delay. I will say when you played your radio bits, your new bumper music, it did not come through very well.
Okay.
So whatever process
that's that
like,
Zoom. That's a Zoom laptop we need to get rid of. So that'll be next on our agenda.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's all I wanted. You sound great. Lynette, great job pushing all the buttons. I understand you're not working with Daverton right now, but I appreciate you giving it your all.
Well, we got everything set up so that the Wednesday show will go off without a hitch. Because, this is like a test.
That's all we can ask.
Hey, real quick, Bob. So this is my co-host, Bob Starkey. Yeah. What is your agenda, Bob Starkey? Tell me about your agenda.
My agenda for Dyer is to make Dyer the best place to live for the 5th year in a row. That's my agenda.
And how do you do that? Do you do that by getting into billions of dollars in debt, or what? How is the approach there? I'm curious.
No. Actually, what that means is postponing certain public amenities until we have the money. That way we can pay cash for it and not go into debt.
So wait a second. So let me understand this, because this is a good.
I know that's blowing your mind.
I know,
blowing your mind.
But the thing
but
is,
when you look at
go ahead.
The amphitheater, and when you look at some of the things that we're doing, the amphitheater, some of the public improvement projects that we're doing, for quality of life stuff, we're paying cash for that stuff. Even some of the things that you're not a huge fan of, Chuck, we're working on some walkability to and from that as you would call it, the boondoggle of a train station. When we do that stuff, we're paying cash for it. We're not going to mortgage tomorrow's tax dollars, because we don't know what those look like, because the folks down in Indianapolis keep changing what they think that they're going to give us, in their largesse. We'll see what they give us. So the only responsible thing we can do is, how much money do we have now? What do we need to cover our bills? And then we buy from there.
Well, okay, so I'm kind of confused here. So what you're saying is that it's a delayed gratification. So what you're saying is that instead of getting into bad financial situations by getting your community into lots of debt, you wait until you can afford the thing and then you buy it outright, thus saving that interest and potential headaches with borrowing and things like that. Is that my understanding that?
Well,
so what you do is you wait until you can afford it to buy it. Is that how that works?
Well, that we're experimenting with that, and so far it's gone off without a hitch.
Well, obviously,
example,
having a balanced budget and
building.
buying things cash and having a balanced budget certainly is a wild experiment for local government. So kudos to you for that. But go ahead, carry on.
I was just going to say, when we first started the idea of this new Central Park with an amphitheater and a community center and some enhanced green spaces, we sent it out to bid as all one unit. It came back and we said, hey, we could bid this out, and bond this out like some other communities are doing, but we said we're going to take a pause on that, and we're going to break this up into 3 different years for 3 different tax draws. That way, it's delayed gratification. It would be so nice if this year at Summerfest in Dyer, June 11th to the 14th, I believe it is, that if we could just say, hey, here's all these new things, and it's amazing, it's fantastic, but, we end up telling folks, hey, last year you get a parking lot. It's not too exciting. This year you get the amphitheater. That's going to be real exciting. And next year you'll get the community center. So, yeah, we broke it up into 3 years. At the end of the day, I truly don't think people are upset, because as soon as I tell them, but look, we did this so we didn't have to bond out. We didn't have to max out the residents' credit cards, and they're happy.
Okay, so I want to tease next week a little bit. So are you going to be using those new walkable paths so that you can walk to the grand opening of the new train?
Well, the train, I don't think I'm invited to the new train.
You're not invited. Well, why don't we put a pin in that, and we'll save that conversation for next week, because I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I guess you're not a stakeholder anymore, Bob. Sorry. Maybe it's because you come in here on Mondays.
No,
People that come up.
I don't have
go ahead.
A business address in Indianapolis.
People in my circle start getting.
I guess that's the key.
People in my circle start getting disinvited to things. So welcome to my circle now that you're officially being disinvited from events. So we'll save that for next week, Bob. You enjoy your meeting that could have been an email today, and we're going to jump onto some other calls. So Bob, you have a good day. We can't wait to have you back next week. Okay, thank you, Bob. Let's take another caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, you're going to have a jarhead on at 7 o'clock today.
I am.
That's what we Navy guys call Marines. Did you know that?
I did, yes. I don't call her that, but you're welcome to call her that. But
okay, I'm going to offer my opinion now.
Sure.
Conditionally, and I'll listen at 7 o'clock to see what she has to say. But in any case, the Democrats, their party line on Iran is that there's no imminent threat. no imminent threat. The only, this is an example as to why, and I've mentioned this many times with WJOB, as a veteran of the Vietnam Air War, the Democrats should never be given responsibility for the security of the United States, whether it be our borders, whether it be the streets of our major cities, or a military engagement overseas or a major war. They just are unfit to be responsible. And wherever they've been involved with things, it's ended in a disaster. In any case, what do you think? Why would we wait for the Iranians, Ayatollahs, who lie their head off at every point? Why wait until they get a nuke that they can put on a ICBM, which they can strike not just the capitals of the Middle Eastern countries or Europe, but they can strike the United States? That they have the nuke and the legs to deliver.
So,
because there's no doubt whatsoever, the Ayatollahs, that's where they were going.
But
there's no doubt whatsoever.
Okay, but so here becomes the discussion. Go ahead.
This is another example of tough issues that Trump is willing to take on that almost nobody else was willing to touch. There's the tariff issue, which was a long-standing problem. I mean, the countries of Europe and East Asia were badly damaged during the Second World War. They were given a special deal for tariffs to help them accelerate getting back on their feet, faced with the Soviet threat type thing.
So the questions that I have, though,
lasted,
right? I understand that, Walt. But then here's the other thing: you and I have been around long enough. You mentioned Vietnam, and obviously there's a lot of questions about the Pentagon Papers and Gulf of Tonkin. When you talk about Iraq, we start talking about, weapons of mass destruction. So to me, I've always been of the opinion that the track record on this intelligence has always been a little spotty. And then now we also have this story coming out from the Wall Street Journal that says we are running low. We're 2 days into this mission and we're already running low on munitions, which makes me wonder, how does the largest military in human history with a budget of $1 trillion run out of munitions? Starts concerned about the munitions 2 days into a skirmish of this size. So, I mean, my big question is, have we depleted our ability to defend ourselves because we've given away so much stuff to other countries, to Ukraine and stuff like that? So, I mean, really, we need to have this discussion about, are we in a position to keep doing this, especially if, we're going to deplete our Tomahawks, deplete all of our defensive weaponry. Like that's a concern that we should be talking about. And why is it that we spend all this money and yet we're out of munitions? So that's one of my big concerns is, are we even prepared to handle, President Trump said this is a 20-day war. Well, I remember when President Bush said it would be a 7-day, 7 days in and out. And then that was 20 years later, we were still there. So, I mean, obviously this government's track record of in and out in 20 days is kind of questionable in my mind.
The problem is, unfortunately, the unhappy part of war is it's not all that convenient.
Right.
And I think Trump decided to make the move because he offered the Iranians a very good deal, including stop enriching uranium to bomb grade level, and we will provide you indefinitely nuclear material for peaceful purposes for as long as you are good boys. And they said no.
Okay, so
and they refused to discuss missiles.
So what would you consider? So this becomes the question: is what is our end goal here? Is it to install democracy? Is it to basically you cut the head off of the current regime, which it seems like we are starting to do? We're taking out high command. We're taking out command buildings. We're taking out their communications networks. So basically you're crippling the enemy. But then the question is, do we have a solid plan forward. And that's always one of my issues with our military is we do a great job. We have the best military in the world who do a great job of taking things out, but we just don't do such a great job of rebuilding. I mean, and that's the question is, do we have a plan forward so we don't end up in another Iraq or Afghanistan?
Well, right now, the purpose is to destroy the Iranians, the Ayatollah's ability to make strategic war against the West, and particularly the United States. They've made very clear that they're not putting boots on the ground in there, that the issue of what happens to the Iranian government and the Ayatollahs is up to the Iranian people. A lot of people don't realize this, that in the Middle East, the one place where America is the most popular is, guess what? Iran, the people of Iran. They've had their belly full of the Ayatollahs, and but the administration has made very clear that the issue of what do you do about the Ayatollahs is up to you, Iranian people, and
right.
So their limited objective is the destruction of the Ayatollah's capacity to engage, or not only in offensive war, but defensive war as well. That they are totally naked, and not only in terms of material resources, but the leadership to make it happen. So this is not going to be Iraq. This is not going to be Afghanistan. It's to just already what's left of the Ayatollahs are saying we like to talk,
right?
And Trump is saying quite properly said you had a chance to talk before, and we offered you a really good deal, and you said no. I'll tell you what, we got business to take care of in Iran, and that is to destroy your capacity to conduct offensive strategic war and even to defend yourself. But in the meantime, the Iranian people are the ones who are going to have to step forward and say, enough is enough, we've had it, and that they act. And but it's excuse me. I think their objectives are limited. Now, the thing that knocked me for a loop was early last week. You had this nitwit retired general. I don't remember what service he was with, but he said, well, if we conduct strikes in Iran, it should be limited. And I thought to myself, you idiot, you want Vietnam all over again? And I was very pleased to see that Trump was not going to be caught by the trap of the sweet song of appeasement and gradualism and so forth, which has gotten this country into very bad situations over and over and over again, all in the name of being civilized and compassionate and peace-minded kind of thing.
Right. Well, hey,
that he intended to fully go in there whole hog.
We do have to take a break.
To knock them for a loop.
I appreciate the call, Walt. We do have to take a break. I hope that you are right. I hope that things are different this time. Historically, it's been a different story. So I hope we've learned our lessons about that. I hope you're right. I hope I hope that there is a complete plan, not just a blow it up and see what happens plan like we had in Iraq and Afghanistan. So hopefully you're right. Hopefully that whatever happens moving forward, it's for the people's best interest. So I appreciate the call. Lynette, let's go ahead and get ready to take a break. So what we're going to do, like I said, I want to try to hold the Iran conversation until 7 o'clock when Donna Dunn gets here, because she'll have a lot of insight on things as well. But in the meantime, if there's anything else you guys want to talk about, 219-845-1100. We'll be back with more after this.
Life's biggest challenges don't come with a warning. When legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards, you need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
Do you like to work with your hands, creating something from nothing? Then think about Laborers Local 41. You'll get 432 hours of apprenticeship training, all while earning a wage with benefits and incurring no student debt. You'll travel to different job sites, learn tons of skills, and in a lot of cases, be the first one on and the last one off a job site. It all starts at laborers41.com.
Are you sausage curious?
Who's ready for Polish?
Big Frank Sausage has the very best Polish food in the region.
You had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage?
We have a full bar, dine-in, carry-out, delivery, and catering available.
I've had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage. I've got a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
219-378-9556. Smacznego i na zdrowie.
Who's ready for Polish?
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile. So easy. A smile lights it up. Apologizes. And welcomes unconditionally. Because the shortest distance between two people is a smile.
Thank you.
Strachan Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
IBEW Local 697 electrical contractors bring the highest standard of electrical work to Lake County homes, schools, and businesses. From everyday fixes to once-in-a-lifetime builds, we don't just get the job done, we get it done right and up to the highest safety standards. When you need electrical work, hire the professionals who power Indiana. Powering Indiana, Lake County, bringing excellence to the job, creating a brighter future for our community.
626 here in the region. Chuck pulling as my friend Bob Anderson pointed out, it's spring, Chuck. Well, will be the spring of Chuck's Discontent or something along those lines. I'm sure our friend Bob Starkey will come up with a cool graphic for spring. But in the meantime, this is the winter of Chuck's Discontent. Here on WJOB, taking a look at traffic, things moving along well here in Indiana, not much to report. On the Illinois side, you've got the usual slowdown, Bishopport into the Dan Ryan on in. Other than that, not much going on the Chicago and Illinois roadways. How are things in the weather world?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 24 degrees with highs of 45 and lows of 31. It's going to be mostly sunny and not as cold, and then later tonight will be cloudy with spotty drizzle. And then tomorrow on Tuesday we'll be having highs of 44 and lows of 33. So it'll be cloudy with a shower. And then Wednesday we'll be having highs of 49 and lows of 42. And we'll be mostly cloudy with a little rain in the afternoon.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Do we have more calls?
We do not.
We are good. Okay. So I wanted to get into, like I said, obviously there's a lot of people tuning in today going, what? I want to hear about this agenda I keep hearing about and all these things. But again, I don't consider that to be productive. Obviously, if there are people that disagree with me, people that think I'm a liar, there's always an open seat here when they are ready or able to talk about things. I would love to hash things out. I feel I was listening to that replay the other day where I asked Rob Kendall and Lieutenant Governor, I said, can you guys work things out for the greater good? And the Lieutenant Governor said, I can do that. And then Rob Kendall said, well, the Lieutenant Governor's a liar. We'll see. But the door's open. But so same thing here. I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't say the same thing. So those that have issues with me, those that think I am a liar with an agenda, they're always welcome to join us here on a Monday, on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday. There's literally an open seat for you 24/7 to come join us and have that discussion. Now, obviously, later last week, Illinois has started to move towards a bill that would make things easier for the Bears to stay in Arlington Heights. They're looking at basically the current bill is a large project assessment. So basically, if you have a large project like what the Bears are doing in Arlington Heights, they would be able to self-assess or, basically have some control over the assessment. So they have some idea of what their tax bill is going to be. It doesn't look like the $1 billion that they're asking for is on the table quite yet. So they're basically at this point, my understanding, and obviously if you guys have seen otherwise in what was proposed on Thursday in Illinois, essentially says that we'll help you with your taxes, not that we're going to give you the $1 billion. But again, that's another step forward to what's happening to keep the Bears in Arlington Heights. I think that the ship has sailed for them to stay in Chicago. But along those lines, I saw just some amazing articles that came out later in the week last week. So these come from the Sun Times. This is the first story. It said, by a vote that was nearly unanimous, the Finance Committee agreed to raise the tax on hotel rooms within a so-called tourism improvement district to 19%, which is the highest in the nation. And the headline was, Finance Committee backs hotel tax to rev up tourism in Chicago. And then, of course, the very next article was that the Chicago Loop Alliance has unveiled a Loop Arts District to address vacant stores. So they have so many vacancies in the Loop area that they're not going to fill, that a lot of those old businesses are going to become art installations. I wonder if there's a relationship there. So I want to step back a little bit and explain this a little bit. So Chicago has decided that they want to rev up tourism. So the way they plan to do that is to raise their hotel taxes to the highest in the nation at 19%, nearly 20%. So when you go to rent a room, you'll have an additional 20% tax on that room for the pleasure of staying in downtown Chicago, and they think that will rev up tourism. Does anybody think that's going to work? Does anybody think that raising taxes on tourists is going to get more tourists? And then, like I said, the related article. There are so many vacancies in the Chicago Loop that they are turning former stores and restaurants into art installations because nobody wants to rent those spaces. And they wonder why they're losing the Bears. I mean, it's comical. It's absolutely comical that anyone in their right mind would think that you can fix your tourism problem by raising taxes on tourists. Now, mind you, I don't know, for those of you that don't go downtown very much, you will find yourself, like, for instance, a lot of the places that tourists go to is inside of a tourist entertainment district where you pay an additional, 12% sales tax. So essentially, when you, as a tourist, come to the city of Chicago, you will be faced with essentially some of the highest taxes in the nation, whether you're buying food, beverages, staying in a hotel. And they can't figure out why people aren't going to Chicago and staying in Chicago, so they've decided to raise taxes. I'm just going to leave that one there. Lynette says we have some phone calls. So let's take some phone calls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning. How are you, sir? Good. Hey, what do you think about this? We're going to raise taxes on tourists to encourage more tourism. That's going to work, right?
That would be a great trick. But honestly, people have been trying that for 20 years, and it doesn't work unless you actually have a draw for people to come to an area.
You do. You have a bunch of art.
And
you have a bunch of art installations. That's going to draw the tourists. Not shopping, not restaurants. Art.
The only draw that Chicago has is maybe Europeans want to come and see just how bad the gangster stuff is in Chicago.
Right.
So, yeah, I think maybe that's not going to work.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
I wanted to ask you what you thought about Brandon Johnson's new proposal to put out a $500 million bond to pay back pay to firefighters. I mean, I thought bonds were for capital infrastructure improvements, but he's going to use it to pay off, debts that he's incurred by not paying, overtime and stuff like that.
So this story just came out as well. Fitch and Kroll Bond Rating Agency have both downgraded Chicago's general bond obligations to BBB plus. I assume down from AAA minus or A minus or quadruple A or whatever. So Chicago's bond rating has downgraded, which means borrowing money will become more expensive for them. I don't see a path forward for them. No, I do. Let me rephrase that. Their path forward is to elect J.B. Pritzker as president, who will then give the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois a bailout. And I remember during COVID, this city that had spent 50 years getting themselves into debt says we need the president to bail us out. We need the federal government to bail us out from our bad decisions. I was talking to somebody over the weekend, Mont, and we were talking about. So I'll digress for a second. I got up Saturday morning. My wife's been bugging me. She says, I don't want you to go to jail. We need to really start thinking about our taxes. I got up Saturday morning with the intention, no, really. I started thinking about maybe possibly getting my taxes in order. And the first thing that came up on the news was obviously what was going on in Iran. I said, you know what? This is not the day. This is not the day for me to think about paying taxes when we're going to waste, billions of dollars there. But it also, and one of the things I was explaining to her, I said, our federal government, what it does is it rewards people that make bad decisions. So essentially she was complaining about people that get these massive, everybody was out spending their tax refunds this weekend. We were at the outlet mall. People were spending $1,000 at the store. She said, it must be tax refund time. Everybody's spending $1,000 at the outlet mall because we have a government that rewards bad behavior. And so people that work hard, people that get up early, like everybody in their cars this morning, you work hard, you pay your taxes, you're the ones that pay taxes, and the people that make bad financial decisions get rewarded. And that goes the same for the city of Chicago. He's making bad decisions, and he's going to be rewarded for it. But also, who's going to be, the question is, who's going to be left to pay it? Just like what we're seeing in New York City. I don't know if you saw these stories about Mom Donnie. The left is going, look at Mom Donnie, look, it's how great. He's paying kids to shovel. And then people are posting pictures of 30 kids standing on a corner wearing vests, and none of them have shovels. And they're all making $30 an hour. Not a single one of them was shoveling. That's the reality. That's the reality of socialism is you give people free money, they're going to stand on the corner and collect $30 an hour not doing anything. What are your thoughts?
Patronage is phenomenal, isn't it?
What could possibly go wrong?
Chuck, I'm there with you, man. It must suck being a libertarian right now because of all the proposals.
It always does, Ma. It always does.
Stadium. But yeah, here's the thing. I know you want to talk about Iran in the next hour, but I just want to share with you one thought that I had.
No, absolutely.
How much of Iranian oil goes to China, or how much, let me rephrase it. How much oil does China get for their purposes from Iran? How's that work?
I would assume, my assumption would be that most of the Iranian oil goes to places like China and Russia. Would that be accurate?
Yeah. China gets 50% of their oil from Iran right now. So with this one move, basically Trump just made China come to the negotiation table for whatever he wants to negotiate with because he now controls Iranian oil. But, second of all, Who was the number one sponsor and funder of terrorism, especially for Muslim Islamic terror in the world? Iran. He's just with this one move now, brought both those things to heel.
So again, I said, though,
I think it's going to make.
I agree with you, and I agree with Walt. But all I'm saying, Mont, is that this country has a track record of 7 days in and out, mission accomplished. I'm just asking. I'm hoping that we have a plan, a path forward this time. That we have a plan to not have a 20-year quagmire. I hope that you're right. I always hope that you guys are right. I always say I want to be wrong. I want me to be wrong more than anybody else because I really hope that we get in, get out, and this ends up becoming a positive thing for stability in the Middle East. But again, we've been playing this game my entire life. Iran was at 79. And so, if you live long enough, Iran was our enemy, then our friend, then our enemy again, and maybe they'll be our friend again soon. So that becomes the question is again, going back to my boogeyman concept of is this a boogeyman? Do we have a path forward that's going to add stability to the region, or are we just creating another power vacuum?
Well, I can't agree with you more about this, and I'm waiting to see what the whole plan is. I know they have the prince, in the wings waiting to step in. But, you just brought up a good point. Iran was our enemy back in 1979. I remember people having songs that were like, let's kill the Ayatollah, and it was totally different than it is today, where you're basically told that you can't speak badly of the Muslims or the Islamics. I mean, it was a totally different world back in 1979 in the United States. But one thing I missed, and I think 99% of Americans missed, is that Iran was the very first country that was co-opted by Islamic extremists.
Right.
They weren't really Muslim. They were, Persians. They were Christians. They were Jews. They were Zoroastrians. They were taken over by this coup of Muslim clerics. And I think we're seeing this happen in Western Europe now. We're seeing it in parts of Texas and in areas of Minnesota, Michigan. You're seeing these people come over, take over, and then try to establish Sharia law. If this is the turning back of this Islamic extremist, Islamic supremacy, good. I think it's a great thing. And I think it will be beneficial to your kids and your grandkids and for future generations. So,
right. No, I don't disagree.
What's going on there?
Well, and like I said, I mean, I just hope that there's a path forward. But also to your point, I'm seeing that there's a lot of pushback finally starting to happen in the United Kingdom, in those areas. But that becomes the question. It's sort of is it too little too late? You know what I mean? I mean, that sort of becomes a thing. And also when you have the scenario where even look at the reactions here in the United States, we have, after 9/11, everybody put their flags out, everybody, rightly or wrongly, we all sort of agreed on the path forward. Now we don't have that. Now we have so much division and, just people going back and forth about what to do and indecision that... Chuck,
would you agree that Trump is firmly in control of this government now?
I don't know. I mean, I would hope so, but also... I was here last week with Bob After Dark, and we were talking about sort of, here, let me put this out there, and let me tell you what I think of when you mentioned that. We talked about how President Obama came out and talked about the UFOs. President Trump came out and asked the agencies to put out everything they had. I was watching old interviews of President Clinton saying, hey, the first thing I asked was about the aliens. And they said, do you need to know when you don't need to know? Congress had UAP hearings and they said, need to know, you're not need to know. So, I mean, that keeps making me, I always go back to that and think if our president and our Congress does not need to know on issues like, UAPs, who is making those decisions? So when you ask me if he's in control, I want to believe he is, but the reality is that there is this, again, I'll just call it the shadow government that decides that they know better than the president and Congress. So I hope you're right. I hope he's working towards that.
Are you talking about President Biden or President Trump?
What do you mean? So President Trump came out and he said...
You just described the Biden presidency to me.
Well, no, I'm saying President Trump asked for documents related to UFOs, UAPs released, but he's not the one doing it. He's asking the agencies, just like all the former presidents. I don't know if Biden did. I know that Obama did. I know that Clinton did. And they were always told the same thing. Chuck, go ahead.
If you have a pie in front of you, how much of that pie do you really care about being about the UFOs? I could care less.
I understand
about UFOs.
that, but I'm saying it's
about all this
it is a point.
Fluff and utter bullshit.
I get it.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine. But I'm saying if they don't want, even going back to who controls the Epstein files. But again, I know we don't care about that. But my point is, somebody is making the decisions. Mr. Trump, Mr. Obama, you are not need to know, and who knows what else besides. I mean, I'm just saying that there is somebody that's making decisions. Who and what gets to see files. So if you're asking me, is President Trump firmly in control? I don't know.
Everything that he's done in the last 3 weeks, taking out Venezuela, he now controls Venezuelan oil. He's taking out the cartels in Mexico. He's now taken out the mullahs in Iran. All of these parties have been participating in a black market, if you will, around the globe, funding terrorists, funding anti-American, infiltration of drugs, and illegal migrants into this country. And he's taken it all away. And number one on that list is he's taking away the British overseas banking, where they were laundering all this illicit money,
now you're
making themselves rich, and hollowing out the American middle class. And I love everything he's done, everything.
Right. No, I get that. And now you're getting to, is it's not scratching the surface, blowing up drug boats. That's my point, is that, even I don't know if you watch Sean Ryan. I've been watching a lot of his stuff lately. He had someone on, they were talking about, the 2,000 or so sleeper agents here in the United States that they're trying to track them down. They're trying to figure out what their plans are. And I mean, we have an enemy within, and that's my concern, is that, we're focused on all these other things externally, but are we also focusing on the enemy within? And the other problem is, as part of that, you have people literally protesting as, ICE agents are trying to focus in on these, trafficking rings.
Did you see how fast they had those signs ready for for hands off Iran? They had those immediate. That's the fastest printer I've ever seen. They must have had those in a warehouse waiting for this to happen.
But that's my point, is when I talk about that division, there is a force here in the United States that is pushing back, and they're organized and they're communicating. They are a force that needs to be, addressed. And that needs to be the discussion is, are we going to ever have sort of that cohesiveness that we had, post 9/11 that we had, where here's what we need to do. We're not going to see that again. Right. I mean, that sort of becomes a problem, is if you have,
we're going to,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, we are now able to see who our enemy within is, because they're making themselves very clear when they post garbage on social media, or they come out and protest that we took out a Khomeini. Okay. I saw one of Elizabeth Warren aides in her office came out and said that in order for us to I can't remember exactly what her phrase was, but she said, we need to take out Israel, and we need to take out the United States. This is a sitting senator's aide saying this stuff.
I mean, I was seeing stuff over the weekend.
I'm glad these people are so deranged that they come out and say this stuff.
I was seeing stuff on social media where they were saying our headquarters is Mar-a-Lago. Hey, Iran, our headquarters is Mar-a-Lago, and stuff like that. Again, disgusting stuff. I have family that lives down the street from there. And every time I post, I said, my family lives down the street. Do you want them to be blown up as well? They're, innocent immigrant family that moved here and American success. You want them to be blown up because, you don't like Trump? And that's sort of the thing. Like people are so, they're so entrenched right now, they don't think about stuff like that. But we do have to take a break, Mon. I appreciate the call.
Well, Chuck, I am sorry that you are, trying to get your taxes done, and it hurts so hard for you to do that.
Now
that I'm on Social Security, I hope you keep working and you work hard every day and can contribute to the Social Security tax.
I expect a thank you note when I pay my taxes, Mon. I expect a thank you card. Thank you for paying your tax. Not that I will, but I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about maybe possibly doing it. So let's see how it goes. Thank you, Mon. Appreciate the call. Let's take a break. We'll take a few more calls, and then we have Donna Dunn coming in at 7 o'clock. So we'll be back with more after this.
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile. So easy. A smile lights it up. Apologizes. And welcomes unconditionally. Because the shortest distance between two people is a smile.
Thank you.
Strachan Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
Ogren Insurance, Hammond's oldest family-owned independent insurance agency, now in its third generation, providing clients in the Chicago area with products from quality insurance companies to handle your every need. Regardless of driving history, Ogren Insurance can find the right coverage for you at competitive prices. To learn more about the insurance solutions and services we offer throughout Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan, call 219-933-0076 or visit our website, ogreninsurance.com. We're located at 6929 Homan Avenue in Hammond, Indiana. Do business locally with someone you know and trust.
For a fast and friendly car wash, go to Easy Clean Car Wash. Open 7 days a week in 4 convenient locations: Highland, Griffith, Cherville, and Lansing. Free vacuuming, air freshener, and a towel with every wash. It's fast, safe, and gentle. For more information and hours of all our locations, visit myeasyclean.com. Also, see how you can wash your car daily with our $10 Ultimate Wash for only $19.99 per month. Give your car the best clean at Easy Clean Car Wash.
From the gas in your car to the heat in your home and the roads that you drive on, our work powers daily life. We are USW Local 71, the proud men and women of the Whiting Refinery. We're not just refinery workers. We're your friends and neighbors, raising our families here, shopping in the same stores, and cheering in the same stands. USW Local 71, powering the region because we are the region.
Hey, 6:51 here in the region. Donna's just sitting down, getting comfy, so I will bring her in a minute. So why don't we'll take a few more calls, we'll reset, and we'll get into a RAND talk. So good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Chuck. I do have an agenda, and
Okay.
I did get a letter.
Fantastic.
And you're talking to somebody. MX was in World War II, as you know. I know Donna Dunn's a Marine.
Hoorah.
But the experience that you don't have, Chuck, I was in a nice, warm place as a paratrooper when my father spent 2 weeks in Patton's Hospital, and we both marched on through the concentration camps. So it was something I learned, and then after the war was over, I watched my uncle's talk. I peeked through the curtains, and that's the experience that you'll never understand, Chuck.
No, when here's the thing, though. So MX.
Kudos to MX, but I do have a letter, okay, and I want to talk about this letter. It says I'm cordially invited, okay, to the ribbon cutting at the South Shore.
Wait,
you know how I feel about shaking hands, Chuck.
You got invited and I didn't?
You know, Chuck, you're all scrambled up here. Let me finish my talk because I can't even hear you. So you know how I feel about shaking hands. So I'm going to give that letter. I'm going to give it to, if I see Ron Madlock. He likes shaking hands. But something I did catch is on the president's speech to the union address, I noticed somebody come down and shake hands with John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett that is against steel tariffs. And that's the same guy's hand I didn't shake. But this guy from Gary, my buddy Ron, he loves Congressman McMahon. Why are you shaking hands with John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett when they're against steel tariffs and you say you're on the steel caucus? I'm all confused, Chuck. I went from being a paratrooper in World War II to getting this letter, and I'm not going to go because I looked at the list, Chuck. I mean, on this list, I don't want to go to this ribbon hunting and shake hands,
Why don't you
saying,
do
Chuck?
me a favor, though? Why
you
don't
know what I mean, Jed? Jed, you know what
okay,
I mean,
hang
Chuck?
on. I get it, but why don't you save
Go
that
ahead.
letter for Bob Starkey because he apparently is not a stakeholder anymore. He needs an invitation. Maybe you can make Bob Starkey your +1, but we'll talk about that next week a little bit. So, but anything,
What do you think about that shaking hands, Chuck, with Congressman Mervyn shaking hands with Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts, who was against steel tariffs? here's my agenda, Chuck. I got an agenda, okay? My agenda is I'm a 50-year steel worker, local 10 retired, and I'm going to stick up for the guys that are working that don't understand this, okay? Mervyn just said something when he shook hands with John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett. Now, if you watch that movie, Cool Hand Luke, when Walking Boss shot that bird, a hawk out of the air with a rifle, he just said something to Cool Hand Luke. And Cool Hand Luke, he just said something. That means don't run, okay?
Okay.
I'll let you go.
Appreciate
Take
it.
care.
Why don't we we got some other calls. Let's take some calls, and then I want to reset and bring Donna in. So good morning, caller, on the air.
Just a quick one. When you brought up the mayor of New York City, it's going to be interesting, having 30 kids on the corner of a shovel with no
There's
shovels.
30 kids with 5 shovels, I think was the exact number.
I've seen that.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he doesn't care whether there's even snow. He doesn't care. He just
They'll be out there all summer shoveling snow.
They're going to vote for him.
Well,
right. He does not care.
So
it doesn't make. There's really no delineation between that and what they did in the city of Chicago. Way back. I mean, it's still bad, I guess, but way back in the day, 6 guys on a garbage truck, 5 guys filling one pothole. It's the same concept. It's just passing the money around. What's going to get very interesting is when, and I don't believe it's been resolved yet, is the idea that if the state of New York does not bail out the city of New York is going to be just absolutely forced to raise property taxes 9.5% on those blue-collar, middle-class people that the mayor promised were going to get free buses, free child care, free city grocery stores. This is this is when the rubber hits the road, and it is interesting to sit back and watch it. And to your guest, I never served, but I'm the son of a Marine Corps DI at Parris Island. So
hoorah!
But to your point, I was watching that press conference where Mamdani basically said, either I tax the rich or I tax you. So, I mean, again, you're creating that division. But then he also said that we don't get as much back from the state as what we put in. But again, you have a state government. That's an issue. Even with Hochul. Hochul came out and said, no, we're not going to raise taxes. We're not going to let you do that. You work within your budget. It was also interesting. Somebody I was watching over the weekend, the guy was talking about how, somehow they managed to run the entire state of Florida, with a smaller budget than New York City and all this kind of stuff. And they have, low taxes and stuff like that. So it's like the tale of two cities, you know what I mean? Like you can run the entire state on New York City's budget and still get everything done and still have low taxes. So it's kind of like maybe the taxes, maybe the rich aren't the problem, especially considering the rich are all moving to Florida. So, that's sort of the thing about the Mamdamis of the world. He's a young guy. Like when I was his age, I couldn't even imagine, being on a town council, let alone running a city. But kudos to him for pulling it off. But again, the thing about people like that is they have this in his mind. He said, I'm going to hire all these kids to shovel. And he just imagined like an army of kids with shovels, efficiently shoveling the streets. Instead, they're just standing on the corner making $30 an hour. It's like one of those, I wish things worked the way you thought they did, but they don't. So.
It was kind of a Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland movie. We'll put on a show.
Right. We'll put on a show. Right. I mean, it was kind of like that episode of The Simpsons where they're all these garbage men in white suits picking up your garbage. Like, that's not how this works. That's not how this works. It's not how it's going to work. You can't just pay people to stand in the street. They're not going to do their job, especially if you don't have a structure in place and things like that. So, but I appreciate the call. Anybody else? You got one more? We're good. What's that? 2 more calls. Let's power through them. Good morning, caller, in the air.
Chuck, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Kudos to Mont for using the word fluffernutter in conjunction with a profanity.
Yeah. Well, we have to.
Was that something?
Yeah, I always worry. I said I need to have a remote drop button, and we don't have the Mont swear jar anymore. So, but you have to drive down here and put some in the swear jar.
I love Mont's calls. Hey, the enemy within. Why, in the name of everything holy, would you not stand when the president said our job is to protect the U.S. citizen, first and foremost?
Well, and that becomes the question is like, do you say that they're anti-American for not doing that? Or is it just because we're so far apart right now? I mean, even like going to Iran or going to any conflict at this point, half the country is going to be for it, half's going to be against it. And that sort of becomes a question is, you can't have you can't bring a united front, especially when you're going into battle with half the people disagreeing with you, right? I mean, when you have the commander going out and half of his army saying, you know what, we're not supporting you on this, it becomes a problem, and that becomes something that, Washington needs to look at, or even this idea about running out of munitions, and there's just so much going into it. I just worry about getting ourselves mixed up with another battle overseas when we got a battle going on internally, right? I mean, that's sort of the question, is like, if your house isn't shored up, you shouldn't go. I mean, even, I've been watching a lot of these Roman documentaries about Marcus Aurelius and stuff. Like, these guys would leave Rome and go to battle, and then Rome would collapse, without them there. There'd be a power vacuum, nobody'd be there. And that's sort of the thing, is like, keep an eye on your house instead of spending all your time. These Roman emperors would spend all their time, fighting other people, and they were never home to take care of Rome, right? So that's kind of the thing I look at. But it is 7 o'clock. You're listening to AM 1230, 104.7 FM in beautifully rustic Hammond, Indiana. I got to say that. But so I mean, that's just my concern. I mean, I understand that we have enemies, elsewhere, but we have to deal with what's going on internally as well.
So let me put a microscope on it. If Trump had stood up and said, my job is to protect Chuck and Amy's children first and foremost, and your representative didn't stand, what does that say to you?
I agree. I understand that. I agree with you on that. But I also would say it's Chuck's job to protect his children as well. So it's sort of like, for me, it's like, yeah, I appreciate what you guys are doing, but also at the end of the day, it's my job to, feed my family and take care of them. So that's sort of that crazy libertarian streak of mine. Is like, let me, I'll take care of my yard, you take care of yours. Obviously, I don't have a Navy or fighter jets or anything. I'd love to, but they won't let me. But yeah, I mean, that sort of thing is like, yes, I obviously, we all pay a lot of money for our government to defend ourselves. And that's sort of that question is, we're spending $1 trillion, and 2 days into the war, we're going, hey, we're out of Tomahawks, we're running out of munitions. It's like, where's all that money going? So, but yeah, so that's sort of, again, we want a standing army. We want our government to defend us. And that's always the question, is like, that's great. If you've identified an enemy and you've identified that, we need to eliminate them. I understand that, but I also don't want it to become a 20. Like I was telling Donna earlier, my son's about to be 18. You start thinking about things differently when it's your children that are turning 18. You know what I mean? Like, it becomes a little bit different for you. I didn't mind signing up after 9/11, and a lot of you signed up and served. But it's a little different when it's your kid. You know what I mean? It's your kid that's turning 18. You're like, I don't know. I don't know what I'd want him doing.
That.
So, but hey, we got to wrap up. But go ahead.
I'm hoping that Mont can come up with a colorful adjective for Congressman Mervan. Thanks.
As long as it doesn't cost the station any money. So let's take that one last call, and then we're going to reset. So good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Chuck.
How are you, sir?
And good morning, Donna.
Good morning.
Good morning. I have a question for you, Donna, and I'll ask it, and then you answer it. I'll hang up. Okay. Last week at the State of the Union speech, our president got up there and spoke, and during the whole thing, he gave medals and honors to certain military people.
Mm-hmm.
And certain sides stood up, clapped, and applauded them individuals for getting that honor. Okay, other ones just sat there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they, like the last caller said, that we're to protect our country, just like Sunday's NASCAR race that I watched, the first thing they did is they honored our colors, not no other flags, our colors of our country. They honored it. Then they said the prayer. Then they did the national anthem. That's why there's certain places over here in Northwest Indiana I'll never go to again, because the first thing they do is they sing the Canadian national anthem and then the American. But I was wondering, Donna, your feelings of when that State of the Union, when the president was giving medals of honors to the military for protecting our country and our colors, and one side just sat there, did not applaud it and everything. What was your feelings on it? And that's about all I have to say, because I'm upset that a certain side just sat there and doesn't want to protect and honor and give thanks for our military and service people for keeping our country safe.
I couldn't agree with you more. I was so, man, I can't
I have a hard time putting into words what I felt. I was mad. I was really mad. I can't say on the air how mad I was, but I was pretty mad. And the thing that got me is that here you have I believe he was an Air Force pilot. You know, his legs are shot off, but he's still going. You know, and he's still going to complete his mission. That's what we do. And what got me is this airman was getting the highest military honor our country has, and most of the time that medal is given after somebody dies, sacrifices themselves, and for anybody to receive that medal is the highest honor in the military you can ever get, and for them not to stand for that, regardless of how you feel about Trump, who cares? You're honoring that person. You're honoring the family who lost their daughter. You know, you're honoring people who have sacrificed for our country, but you don't want to because of who's president. And that's bull.
Right.
That is bull. And don't think that the veteran community won't remember that, because, oh, yes, we will. And that'll come back. Hopefully they'll remember come September or October, November.
That's about all I got to ask, because, you know, I watch your show, I listen to your show. My dad was in the Korean War.
Okay.
When I was in Bailey High School, I raised our American flag for 2 years straight at that school. I was so proud to raise my flag and lower my flag if it even barely touched the ground. You know, my principal always told me, you know, when it started to rain, I got out. You know, I've had other kids help me, but they only went and did it because they could get out early to get the flag and all that stuff. But my feeling that when I was a kid then, I raised and lowered that flag because I was so proud of our country and our servicemen and our military that tries to keep our country at peace and keep peace among us all, you know. But I'm going to let you all go, and I thank you, Donna, and your veteran show. And
well, thank you.
What's the Mountain Dew guy?
Oh, Steve Bramer.
That other guy. Yeah. Tell him I said hi, and somehow I'm going to try to figure out how to drop a Mountain Dew through the building, you know, for him.
Okay, so we got to go take a break. We're going to be late. I'm going to get yelled at by the producer. So I appreciate the call. Go ahead, tell everybody have a nice day, and we got to go.
I already hung up.
Oh, you already hung up. Well, have a nice day for Trucker Mike. So let's take a break, and we'll be back. We're going to reset. We're going to finally introduce our guest properly. So we'll be back with more after this.
It's gold rush time at Albert's. Oh, looky here! Oh, those are gonna fetch a pretty penny.
But who's gonna buy them from us?
I'll buy that gold from you. What did you say?
I said I'll buy that gold from you, and I'll give you top dollar.
That sounds great.
It's gold rush time. We will see you at Albert's.
For over 140 years, the Central Midwest Carpenters have built our communities in Northwest Indiana. Are you ready to join the effort? We have long-term work, competitive pay, and the best benefits in the industry. We pride ourselves on innovative training and commitment to worksite safety. Earn as you learn as an apprentice. A solid career built on a solid legacy. For more info, go to carpenters.com.
Are you searching for a college where you belong? Calumet College of St. Joseph wants to know you and give you the support you need to succeed. Are you worried about how you'll pay for your degree? 95% of our students receive financial aid, including scholarships and grants. Need some extra help with your classes? You'll benefit from our small class sizes, free tutoring, internship planning, faculty mentors, and so much more. Come experience our accepting, supportive college family for yourself. Schedule your campus visit and apply at ccsj.edu.
If you're thinking of finishing your basement, installing outdoor security cameras, or your business has plans to break ground on a new project in 2024, Powering Indiana, Lake County is your source for the region's best electricians. With IBEW, Local 697 electricians, you're choosing the highest level of safety and reliability. Visit poweringindiana.org today and ensure your project is in the hands of skilled professionals.
Hey, it is 7:08 in the region. It is the winter of Chuck's disco, discontent, whatever you want to call it. Let's take a look at traffic and weather. Traffic moving along surprisingly well. everything here in Northwest Indiana looking good. You've got the usual slowdown, Bishop Ford to Dan Ryan on in. Everything else on the Illinois side looking good. So if you see something, obviously 219-845-1100. But as of right now, traffic moving along swimmingly. How are things in weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 25 degrees with highs of 45 and lows of 31. It's going to be mostly sunny and not as cold. And then later tonight it should be cloudy with spotty drizzle. And then tomorrow on Tuesday we'll be having highs of 44 and lows of 33. Should be cloudy with a shower. Then Wednesday we'll be having highs of 49 and lows of 42. And we'll be mostly cloudy with a little rain in the afternoon.
Thank you so much. So now I can finally properly introduce my guest, because I wanted to say this. I wanted to say this right off the bat. If there's one thing I'm stingy about in my life, it's giving respect to people. Mm-hmm. And Donna is one of those people that you, not only have you earned my respect, but you've also never let me down.
Well, thank you.
So you are somebody that's always been consistent and generous and kind. And you have all of the quality. There are people that I meet and I say, man, I wish I could be more like them. So I'm going to say, Donna, you are my hero.
Wow, Chuck.
And I appreciate everything that you've done.
Thank you so much.
Didn't want to get you all, but I wanted to say that because
I refuse to cry on the air.
But no, so Donna, tell people about you. What do you do? What did you do? Tell them about your life.
Well, I was born at a very young age. I'm a region rat from day one. That's where I was born and raised, right here in Northwest Indiana in Hammond. Graduated from Hammond High. After I did that, I went to join the Marine Corps. I spent 8 years faithfully serving my country. And a lot of people ask me, would you do it again? I'm like, absolutely, in a heartbeat. My only regret is that I didn't retire from there. After that, I kind of was lost for a little bit when I got out. Didn't know what I wanted to do, so I I installed cable for a little bit, and when I moved back here, I installed cable here. So I've probably been in some people's homes, installing their cable. After that, I got a really good job on the railroad. I was a locomotive engineer. I retired from there. I'll tell you what, there's no better job than running a 15,000 ton train through the region.
Hey, my one time behind the throttle was on a steam engine, so that was fun.
Wow,
too.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
I told Amy, we're driving to North Carolina. Why? I'll tell you when we get there.
If you'd have told her before you left, you never would have made it.
I spent a lot of money to get a chance to spend 15 minutes behind the throttle of the steam engine, and it was well worth it.
That's great.
But yeah, no, it really is. I mean, you're right. It's like it's an amazing thing.
It is. And after that, I decided to do something different. So during COVID, the only place hiring was Lake County Jail. So I worked there for a couple years until I couldn't take it anymore. And then I got a job at the steel mill. So I got to be a mill rat for a few years. And I liked working out there. And I'm retired from that as well. So I'm retired. I got nothing but time. So.
And what do you do on Friday? Tell about people what you do on Fridays if they don't.
On Fridays, we have our show from 9 to 10 every Friday. It's called Veterans Views, where myself, Robert Rockwell, and Steve Bramer, we talk about what's going on in the country veteran-wise. We have Steve is a VSO. He's a veteran service officer, so he usually has a lot of good. We talk a lot about how to get your benefits. How to apply for your benefits, because I'm going through that process now after all this time I've been out. I didn't know I was even able to do that, and a lot of veterans don't, because when I got out, one day you're on active duty, the next day you're not. That's it. You don't get any. There's no exit interview. There's nobody who says, okay, you have these benefits. Go to the American Legion. They will do blah, 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 blah. And nobody tells you that.
Well, and the thing is, just one day in the mail, you get this giant packet. And again, you're a kid. You get a giant packet in the mail. It's like, fill this out, go here, do this. And then you miss one step and now you're out benefits. And so, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's such a bureaucracy. And obviously we know about the VA. We know about I mean, there's so much going on there. So, I mean, that's one of the things, especially for people that help other veterans. Kudos to you guys, because again, that's something that you don't appreciate until you've done it. Mm-hmm. And then obviously there's a camaraderie there. There's like kind of a brotherhood, a sisterhood that nobody would understand unless you've done it.
Right. And you, that's the one thing I miss. The main thing I miss about being in the military is
getting together at the bar and causing some trouble.
Well, yeah, that too.
That too.
But that camaraderie, because it was pretty good on the railroad, but it wasn't the same, because these people in the military, that they have your back. You may not like each other.
Right.
You may not agree on a lot of things. You may be different religions, different politics, but when the bullets are flying, that doesn't matter. because I got your back, you got my back. Because my job is to make sure our jobs are to make sure we each come home.
One of the things I've always just sort of studying history, I was talking about Rome earlier, and even just like when you look at what happened when we left Afghanistan or anything like that, is that it doesn't matter how much you spend. It doesn't matter if you have the latest fighter jets. It doesn't matter if you have $1 trillion budget. It's the men and women, boots on the ground. It's that, the American spirit. It's, even when you look at, when you break down, like I was watching Band of Brothers, and it blows me away what we were able to accomplish. And even World War II, it wasn't, obviously the planes were important, the tanks were important, but it was the people, the guys that landed on that beach and marched to Germany. And it's that American spirit. Like you can't buy that. You can't reproduce that.
No.
And again, that idea that when we land boots on the ground somewhere, they know, I mean, even thinking back to World War II, as Admiral Yamamoto said, you can never invade the American mainland. There'd be a weapon behind every blade of grass.
Yes.
Because they know the American men and women, how fierce we are and how loyal we are. And that's something you can't reproduce that.
No,
right?
you can't. And there was a lot of speculation back in the day when they went from a draft army to an all-volunteer army of, these people want to be here, whereas opposed to like Vietnam and Korea, they didn't want to be there. Did that have anything to do with the fighting? Absolutely not, because once you're there, like I said, all that stuff goes away, and your job is to help each other survive. And now it's the same thing. We during the first Gulf War, during Grenada, Panama, was the first big test of that all volunteer military, and we passed with flying colors.
And even in cases like that, you didn't go in with this overwhelming force like World War II. It was small groups that had, it wasn't like we have this massive group landing, it was just a bunch of people parachuting in, and here's your job, good luck.
Right, exactly.
Wasn't a lot of air support, wasn't a lot like, get in, if you guys get into trouble, good luck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so we already started talking about this a little bit this morning, and I know you were the perfect person I wanted to bring in because your objectivity on things like what's happening in Iran. And so, sort of the discussion that I've had this morning already is obviously we understand that there is a threat there, but also when people start talking about things like using these talking points of, Iran, they're months away from a nuclear weapon. I just start thinking about weapons of mass destruction. I start thinking about Gulf of Tonkin. Again, it's like, but I think, and I hope people don't say, well, Chuck's anti-American. No, I know my history.
Yeah.
And so, even I sit down with a guy that served in Vietnam. We talked about this recently. I said, I don't know how to feel about the Pentagon Papers and Gulf of Tonkin. And he was somebody who was drafted. He said, we had a job to do. And I look at it as I had a job to do. I did it.
Yeah.
And then obviously
you worry about the rest later.
We worry about it later. I wasn't happy about it, but I did what I had to do, just like you said. And so that's sort of the thing is, that we're going to go do our job, whether we, that's sort of that, again, that the idea that I'm concerned about as Americans is we're going to do our job, whether we like it or not, because we have a job to do. But if you have a country that's so divided, that becomes my concern, is that we lose that strength because of our internal division.
Well, you won't lose that strength in the military. They're still going to do their job. That's what you join for. That's what we train for. A lot of times, like I'll give you an example, when Hezbollah blew up the embassy in Beirut, I was in Okinawa at the time, and we were ready to go. We were like, give me my rifle, give me my ammo, I'm going, And Reagan had us. We were on the tarmac at Fatima Air Base. We had all our equipment there. We had, because I was a welder, so we had all of our. We were heavy equipment platoons. We had all of our heavy equipment. We had our generators. We had everything we needed to survive and go over there and kick butt and take names. But at the last minute, they didn't send us, which for us was very disappointing, because we wanted to go over there and show what we could do. When you don't blow us up.
Yeah, I was
cowardly blow us up.
I was watching an interview with somebody that I think he was in Italy during Benghazi.
Okay.
I mean, literally begging. Like
Yeah.
they were like, we're going. Like,
Yeah.
we're going. We don't care.
Right.
So don't like literally they were willing to break structure, break command, and go.
Right.
Like we're going.
Yeah.
And it was like they wouldn't let them. It's like we're ready to go. We're like you said, we're
Yep.
ready to go. We're on the
Yep.
tarmac, and then our leadership fell apart
Mhm.
and didn't
Didn't
convey
do it.
the
Yeah.
orders.
Right.
We even saw that. I mean, going back to how many chances did we have to take out Osama bin Laden? They're like, well, maybe next time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, again. So, I mean, it's just an amazing thing when you say that. It's like, there's a battle going on somewhere and people are just begging to go because, like you said, you want to help your brothers and sisters.
You want to help your brothers and sisters out. And
you guys know the number, 219-845-1100 if you want to call and talk to Donna, if you guys have opinions on Iran. Do we have some calls? Okay, let's go ahead. Let's take some calls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Donna. I would shake
Hey, good
your
morning.
hands.
I know you
I
would.
can't even hear you. It sounds all.
Oh, sorry.
It sounds all scrambled. I'm sorry. I just got a little bit to say. I would definitely shake your hands. You almost beat Visposky. And I like your agenda, being a veteran. That
Thank
those
you.
medals, Trump handed those medals out, and the Democratic Party didn't stand.
Yeah.
I want you to keep your agenda about illustrious congressmen in our district,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to keep my agenda to keep the young men working at the steel mills. And I'll repeat it again. When he ran over there and shook hands with Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts. So please keep that agenda going.
Oh, yeah, we will.
And thank you very much.
Okay, appreciate
Bye-bye.
the call.
Thank
So I was talking about Sean Ryan. I was watching, I think it was Sean Duffy was on, Transportation Secretary, and he was talking about stuff they never thought about, like even shipbuilding and stuff like that. We're
Yeah.
not building ships
No,
anymore.
we're not.
And again, going back to the steel and stuff like that, it's like, we're letting the Chinese build the majority of ships. That used to be our thing.
Yeah.
Every time you drive through, I drive through here, I think about right across the street, they were building tanks. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you think about World War II, we were, they're building a plane a minute. And
Yeah.
we were building all this stuff. And if we got ourselves into real trouble today, we can't ramp that up,
No.
right? We can't do that. What Sean Duffy was explaining, he said, when you forget how to build a ship, you can't just say, hey, let's build ships again,
Yeah.
right? Because all those guys have retired. All the guys that know how to build something, once that knowledge is lost, now you have to learn that again. You
Yeah.
can't just, you guys have been building ships your whole life. Let's build a ship. You have to relearn that.
Yeah,
And
we're seeing that across a lot of industries. In the steel mills, we're seeing that, and we're seeing that. I can speak for the industries that I was in the railroad, and you're losing that knowledge, that base knowledge of when something doesn't go right, or you can't produce this rolls. They're coming off the rolls wrong, and you're getting all these issues with the coils and stuff, or somebody doesn't know how to fix this thing on a rail car. You're losing that here's what we used to do, and this is how we fix it. Because if it's not in a book or something like that, it's not going to. Nobody knows, and we're losing that. And I think that's hurting us. And our manufacturing, we've sent so much of it overseas that, like back in World War II, like you were talking about, we had car manufacturers that switched and started making Jeeps.
Yeah.
And vehicles for the war. And I don't know if we could do that now.
Right.
Because everything's so automated. I mean, could we do it? Yeah, but would it be...
Well, again, Ford was building airplanes. Could
yeah.
Hegwish retool and start building
exactly.
building bombers? You're
exactly.
Right.
I don't know
right.
if they could.
And so that becomes a question: is you had the knowledge to build something. It wasn't just you're running the computer and the robot to do it.
Right.
And so that becomes a big issue. I'll digress for a minute before we take a break. So I've had my family, my mother's side of the family comes from they're first generation immigrants, and they were in the fence business. So we had a lot of people here that put in fences. And my uncles, so I've lost two uncles in the last couple of weeks that both on that side of the family both came that taught me how to do things like that.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that. I've got a funeral to go to this Wednesday for my second uncle that passed away. And I was thinking about that. It's that, these are the guys that knew how to do stuff. And then when they're gone, you say, well, I hope I learned everything I needed to know because I can't ask them anymore. You know, when you lose people like that, or if you're in the industry like that, the old hands pass away. It's like, I guess it's, you know, it's like you one day you're the intern, one day you're the new guy, and then one day you like realize like, wait, I'm the oldest one here.
Right. When I first started at the mill, I had never been in a mill before, and I knew nothing about how to make steel. You know, I still consider myself not knowing anything. It's very complicated on how they make it. But, you know, we processed a lot of stuff. And, you know, I'd go to the guys running the line. I'm like, hey, how come we're not doing, can we do this? Can we do that? And they'd say, no, here's why. Right. Like, oh, okay, I never thought of it. You know, it's things that a new person would never think of.
And it's not in a book anywhere. You know what I mean? It's not written down. It's just a guy that's been there forever that knows this is why, because 20 years ago this happened.
Yeah.
And like, how do we pass that stuff down? And that's sort of one of my, you know, even going back to being in the trades and stuff like that, is that's one of my big concerns, is we're just losing all of this ability. Like you said, we're automating everything, and we're going to end up in a world where robots are building everything. And then I told my son since he was a kid, I said, learn how to fix or program robots.
Exactly.
Because it's like, you know, at the end of the day, you'll always have job security. So why don't we take a break? We'll be back with more Donna Dunn after this.
Before Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, we were being charged various maintenance fees and various check writing fees for all of our accounts. And with Notre Dame, we don't have that. We have that true community partnership. We get interest based on all of our parish and school accounts, and the interest rate is really second to none.
Have you ever considered becoming an iron worker? Local 395 is now accepting applications for their apprenticeship program. Go to ironworkers395.com. Look under the training section, click on apprenticeship, and scroll down to the application. You must be 18 years old, have a high school diploma or GED, and you must be physically able to perform the work of the trade. Find out more by calling the apprenticeship school in Lake Station at 219-962-7675 or visit ironworkers395.com.
Fishing for a seafood meal without the stress or mess of cooking? Leave the work to the Strachan Van Til Seafood Department. For just $1 extra per pound, we'll fry, grill, or steam your fish with your choice of 3 kinds of breading. Try our fish and seafood dinners. Each includes a half pound each of seafood and fries, and a quarter pound of coleslaw. Want the freshest catch in town? Reel in the fish and seafood selections from your local Strachan Van Til.
As naysayer of Hoosier land in the royal county of Lake, I welcome you to take and take and take. Politicians can cheat for stadiums and rails, and don't forget to tax for more bike trails.
726 in the region. That is my new AI intro.
I love it.
Apparently I'm now the mayor of Munchkin Land, so I'm fine with that. We've got Donna Dunn here. We're going to go till 8 o'clock. So I brought Donna in because again, whenever something like this happens, I turn on the news Saturday morning. I see what's going on in Iran. Not, you know, we blew up a couple mountains a few months back, so not exactly surprising. But you know, the level that we went in on Saturday was kind of surprising. But so tell me, just kind of let's get into that. What are your thoughts on what's going on right now?
Well, you know, I think something that a lot of people don't understand is Iran is a huge country. It's bigger than California.
Right. It's huge. Right.
And it's if we were to take over that country, we'd be in another big boondoggle, just like we were in Afghanistan, like
the
we
magic
were in Iraq.
word, boondoggle. Everybody drink boondoggle. Okay.
It would be another disaster, because once you put boots on the ground, it gets very complicated. You know, and in Iran, you know, the Iranians are not Arabs. They're Persian. So that's I mean, yes, they're Muslims, but that's a different nationality.
Right.
You know, so but you know, by with these missiles, and they're very precise. We have a new drone. I believe the drone's name is Lucas, and what this drone does is it comes in, and it's a one-time deal. It goes in and it dive bombs whatever the target is, and it blows up. So it's on the one hand, you know, you have all these drones and all these non-manned fighting things, but if it goes to boots on the ground, I'm praying it does not, because that's going to be a disaster. first of all, because when we went into it'd be the same thing like when we went into Afghanistan. We have people attacking our embassies in Baghdad, and in somewhere else they attacked our embassy. I can't think of the country off the top of my head, but so it's not like people are gonna welcome us. Some people will, just like when we were in Afghanistan and Iraq, but not everybody. You go back to the thing in Iran is, if you like you said, your history. Back in the 50s, the CIA, our CIA, staged a coup there and put the Shah in power.
Right.
And he was, of course, he was corrupt. He tortured people. He's not a good man. And people were, after a few years of that, going into the 70s, 20 years of that, people had had enough. And they wanted to change. So here comes the Ayatollah Khomeini at the time, and he tells people exactly what they want to hear, like our politicians do. He made it a religious thing. He says we're going to go back and we're going to be religious. We're going to be we're going to do what we need to do, and everything's going to be great, and blah 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 blah. And of course, once he got in power, it wasn't. There was a guy in his cabinet, and I read this the other day. And he would carry around a Quran and he walked through the streets. And if he found something you were violating in the Quran, he would point to you, boom, they'd shoot you right on the street.
Wow.
So, and now they're doing that. They've killed over 30,000 people since January.
Right? Yeah.
And nobody was outraged by that.
Right.
I can't believe that they killed all these people and nobody cared. Where were the protesters? Like all the ones we have now. I think somebody called in earlier, was talking about the signs. And when they want to protest something like that, they have signs the next day.
Right.
So this stuff is who's paying for those?
So let's. So you mentioned the embassy. So overnight, there was reports of smoke from the U.S. embassy in Kuwait. So it was struck by something, possibly a drone. We also have had our 4th casualty. We're up to 4 American casualties at this point. They're saying it was a friendly fire incident. So we're waiting on names. But again, we're a couple days in. We've had 4 casualties already on our side. Obviously multiple civilian casualties in Iran. We've got Iran firing back on their neighbors, using drones and firing back on them because they can't reach us. So they're trying to hit our embassies and our bases. So
I heard somebody say this morning on the news that Iran has a capability to hit the U.S. and I'm like, no, they do not. They can barely hit the targets they have over there in the Middle East.
Well, and a lot of times in this case is that you can have all the weaponry. We have the technology. So basically, as soon as you launch something, we know where it came from and we can neutralize it. So, again, the question becomes, obviously, we have the weaponry, we have the ability, but also, it becomes, okay, great. We've taken out all of their launch sites. We've taken out their we've taken out the Navy. We've taken out their communications. But then that becomes the question, we're great at that. Yes, we're the greatest military in the world when it comes to taking that stuff out.
Absolutely.
But then the next day, right?
Yeah.
And that was Afghanistan. I even go back to mission accomplished. It's okay, mission accomplished. Now what?
Yeah.
20 years.
That's the thing. They don't have an exit plan.
Right.
How do you declare victory? Like in World War II, they had a plan on how they would declare victory. We haven't had
March to Berlin, take out Hitler, go home, kiss the girl, everybody wins.
Everybody
that was
wins.
the plan.
That was the plan.
Right.
Now we haven't had a plan since then.
Right.
We didn't have a plan in Korea. We didn't have a plan in Vietnam. We didn't have an exit plan in the Middle East. So it's ridiculous to go in there without an exit plan. And you have to have that. You have to have, how are you going? The logistics is what gets people, because they don't realize how much it entails. To get all of these tanks, these MRAPs, and the troops and everything they need, their food, their weapons, their ammunition, their howitzers, everything, to get all of that over to the Middle East is going to cost a lot of money.
And then we always forget the exit plan on how to get that stuff out.
How to get it back, and we leave it for our enemies.
And that's the thing that I don't think, I was talking to one of my friends, I think he served in Afghanistan, and he said, we would find our own weapons. Like we were fighting our own weapons.
Yeah.
And that's really the point when it's hard for morale, when you're like,
absolutely.
I'm seeing, and you actually, and he's, there was this whole joke about how, we were giving weapons to ISIS in one country, like the CIA was giving weapons to ISIS in one country, and then ISIS was using the weapons against us in another country. And again, that becomes the thing that we need to ask ourselves when we go back to, obviously you've got people serving the Marines, the Army, stuff like that, but you've got this whole other group. You've got the CIA, the State Department, and even going back to Afghanistan, we gave them a lot of the weapons to fight the Russians, and then they used those against us. They used our own RPGs. The SEAL team that was taken out, they don't talk about it. It was our own RPG that killed those 31 men on my birthday, August 6th. I always remember that. So again, that's stuff that we don't think about.
Right.
And, imagine that you're a young kid over there and you're like, wait, why, my own weapon's being used against me. How did this happen?
Yeah. And that's very demoralizing too. You're over there to do a job and, you see this happening and but you still have to do the job, of course, and they will. But it just, that's one of the things that gets to you when you're over there. Besides all the other stuff, being away from home, being afraid that you're not going to make it home. And what a lot of people don't realize is that affects a lot. And then you have your family at home worrying about if you're going to come home. So that affects everybody that goes into a wartime situation. And my heart breaks for the 4 servicemen that we have lost so far. And that's doing everything from the air. We haven't even talked about what would happen if we were on the ground.
Well, think about even, as we talk about that, what happened with the IEDs is that we were not expecting IEDs. You had guys were literally welding, junk onto their windows and underneath their Humvees.
Right.
It took us years to finally bring the MRAP, to finally bring something that was, resistant to the IEDs.
And to have them armor plated and everything.
Right. And it was something that we never expected. You just send people out. Well, you're going to go out on patrol. Well, what am I doing? Just go out on patrol and hopefully you don't hit an IED.
Yeah.
And there was really no plan. I would hear that over and over again. They said,
right.
I had friends that came back. They were, their Humvees were flipped over and stuff like that. They were mangled. And it's like, well, what was going on? Well, they just sent us out.
Yeah.
For what? Just go out, patrol, and come back.
Yeah. And
why?
Yeah, exactly. That's a big thing in the military. I would always try as I came up through the ranks, I always try to tell my people why we're doing something. Because even in peacetime we did some stupid stuff. And it's like, why are we doing this? Why are we picking up cigarette butts for the third time this week? Because they have nothing else for us to do. Maybe, but anyway, but you're always, and now, even now, the training has changed since I was in, and it's a good thing. They've really gotten back, and especially, in the Marine Corps, I can speak to that. They've gotten back to the basics. Everybody in the Marine Corps, everybody's first job is a basic rifleman. Our Marines that were guarding the embassy killed 22 people. Because that's what they do.
Right.
And and going on embassy duty, you're I don't know how to phrase it. You're extra trained. If you get more training on close combat and how to protect, your building, your embassy and stuff like that.
Because you're front line and you're probably not going to have, again, that close air support. You're not going to have the backup.
Right.
You're on the ground, and when it happens, you're it. Right.
Yeah, that's it. You're it.
Why don't we take some phone calls? We got some calls, so let's hear. We got Donna Dunn here for a few more minutes till 8 o'clock. So let's take some calls. Good morning, caller on the air. Hello.
Yeah, I'm getting.
Oh, that's a.
Uh-oh. Is that Walt? Hey, Walt. Hey, Walt. Why don't you call back? Hang up on Walt, and then Walt, call back. You're on a bad line. We're still working out the bugs. So let's take another call. Let's see if this one's working. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, how's it going?
Okay.
Speaking of regime changes, we've had regime changes here in the United States when the British were in here and we were being overtaxed. Didn't like what they were doing to us, so we had a regime change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over a 3% tax.
Basically.
Yeah. Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So now, when governments get out of control, and they spend all the money on the military, like, Kim Jong-un does over there. He's got people starving in the streets and, stuff like that, but he's buying bombs. And, this country's eerily looking like like what if there was a regime change in this country?
See, that's his mistake, though. Instead of building bombs, he should have been building stadiums. That's his mistake. Build the people that are suffering stadiums.
Yeah.
Bread and circus.
Yeah.
Bread and
Not
circuses,
stadium,
absolutely.
But you should be building schools.
Yeah. Oh, no, we don't want that. We don't want the kids to learn anything.
We have 800 military bases? Come on. What are we doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are we doing?
Well, because and
What
here,
if the, hey,
go
you
ahead.
know, what if the Christians banded together and said, "Hey, we're going to do a regime change." We went and did a regime change. How would that look?
Well, I mean,
well, it's hard to
but
say.
that becomes a thing is that, in this country, I always assumed, again, going back to that post 9/11, I always think about that commercial where, it was like the whole neighborhood had American flags and
yeah.
stuff like that. And we
you
just
couldn't buy an American
right.
flag.
Oh, yeah. Right. I mean, and that was the thing is that there was never, again, we can talk about the decisions that were made in
Mm-hmm.
October and Patriot Act and things like that. We can talk about, maybe we rushed into some things, but at least we were we were united
yeah.
in that resolve. And that's the big difference between now and like that time frame is that's
Right.
the question is we're so divided here internally. And even like I said, I mentioned that Wall Street Journal article that says that we're dangerously low on munitions. It's like, we're spending $1 trillion. How do we not have munitions?
And here's another thing that people don't realize is we're dangerously low on repair parts. Because you have a vehicle that has all these military specs, and Company A builds this piece of equipment, and then Company A doesn't build this piece of equipment anymore. So now we don't have any parts. So one of the biggest things they're doing now is they're contracting out to get vehicles fixed because we can't do it.
But again, going back to what we talked about earlier with the steel mill, once you destroy those dies, once you destroy the molds, once you destroy all that and the knowledge, now you have to reverse engineer a part to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
Right. And
that doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
Yeah. And that, and I've said this before, I miss the America that we had after 9/11. We were so together and that's what I miss. And now we're so divided. But I think that, and how do we change that? I don't know.
Well, hopefully that's the concern is hopefully it doesn't take another 9/11.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
But we've got people, we've got intel that says we've got thousands of sleeper agents in this country. And, and we're so busy with other things that we can't even track them. And again, going back to, the open borders and things like that, that we don't even know who's here and we don't know what they're up to. And,
right. And the caller mentioned about, where's all, and you mentioned too as well, Chuck, where's all this money going? Well, I'll tell you where the money's going. The money's going to Israel. And I'll say it, I don't care.
And Ukraine and
Ukraine.
Like that, right?
And the thing is over in Israel, people over there get free health care, they get free college, they don't have to work a lot. And where's all that money coming from? It's coming from here. We could do that for our people if we stop sending them money.
Well, even, I think it was last year, we were talking about how a lot of the money going to Ukraine is like propping up their pension system and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, no, I need my pension system propped
exactly.
up. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I understand that. And I understand people in Ukraine are suffering, but you got to get your own house in order first.
Absolutely.
We are stretched so thin. And I don't think people appreciate how thin we are stretched because we've been very fortunate post 9/11 to not have any we've not tested our abilities and that we're very lucky in that. But if that day comes, I fear that we're not going to be as prepared as we think we are. So caller, what are your thoughts?
Oh, is he still there?
I don't know. I do love this country, but I think we could do a hell of a lot better. Come on. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, no,
but anyway.
Yeah, good place to leave it. Appreciate the call. We got anybody else calling in? We'll call back.
We got one more.
Go ahead. I'll take that caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, I called in earlier, and I did not
There you
say that that the Iranians had the capacity to strike the United States with nukes and missiles and so forth. I said they were working on it, and there's no doubt in my mind that that was their ultimate objective. But Iran is, as was pointed out by your guest, is not an Arab country. It's Persian. Also, it's predominantly Shiite. There are two major brands of Islam, and one is the majority is Sunni, and then you have the Shiites. There's very little love lost. Think about the Middle Ages in Europe, the conflicts between Protestants and Catholics. They have not stopped fighting. But in any case, I just wanted to make the comment for those veterans who are looking to apply for benefits from the Veterans Administration. If you try to work that on your own, you're lost.
Right.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
defeated from the get-go. you have to get involved with, for example, the DAV in Valparaiso. I was at the Expo, Porter County Expo Center on a event there, and I was just walking along, and all of a sudden these two guys came up to me and said, "Hey, are you a veteran?" I said, "Yep, I'm a Vietnam veteran." They were representatives from DAV, and they said, "Have you ever applied for benefits?" I said, "No, I don't see that I qualify for anything. I mean, I've got hearing problems, got blood pressure problems, but I don't think that's going to make much difference." And they said, "Well, why don't you give it a try?" And I thought to myself, why not give it a try?
Why
so
not? Yep.
I started attending their meetings in Valpo. And I think they meet once a month at, I think it's an Eagles facility near Roosevelt Road in Valpo, and they really know what they're doing. But even when you have somebody who knows the system, you're still going to have a bumpy road. For example, I was sent to LaPorte to get a medical examination, and the address they gave was incorrect. The directions were correct up to the point I arrived at the city, but following their directions, I got nowhere.
Yeah.
To make a long story short, I finally stumbled onto it by just talking to locals and so forth. And but it's a bumpy situation, even when you have the support of DAV. Counties have veterans service people. What's available in Lake County? Do you know?
Yeah, Lake County has a veteran service officer in Crown Point, and then just about every American Legion has a veteran service officer as well. You can go online and find your American Legion nearest you to go to. We have we have two in Hammond. We have my post, American Hammond Victory Post 168, and then you have the Hammond Post, the Hessville Post over on Kennedy Avenue. So there's different places you can go. You can go to a DAV meeting. Everybody's always welcome. I know a lot of people have this in their mind that it's just a bunch of old people drinking in the bar, which to a point it is.
Right? And pull tabs now and all that fun stuff.
And the American Legion in Griffith is amazing. They have these gambling machines in there that are right out of the casino.
Yeah.
But anyway. But yeah, go to your service organizations because they're the ones fighting for you. They're the ones that just got this stupid some regulations changed for veterans. So they're the ones that are fighting. And the more we go to them, the more it's the power of numbers, like we've talked about before. The more people you have, the more that they're going to listen. We had 20,000 veterans send letters to Collins, who's in charge of the VA, about this rule that they tried to change, making it so that your disability was based on how you felt after you took medicine.
Okay, so Walt, before we let you go, though, I want to have this discussion with the two of you. So here becomes my question: is obviously we're talking about, does Iran have the ability to reach the United States and things like that? We do know what countries, not yet, but I'm saying there are plenty of countries that Iran can reach, and they've been hitting them with drones and missiles over this weekend. So my question always becomes: are those are very wealthy Middle East, Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, countries with money to spend? Are they putting skin in the game, or is this falling back to us? Is Europe, is NATO, the UN, are all of these other organizations stepping up to the plate, or is it falling in our lap? And that becomes a question. Hey, money's great, but I know we've provided a lot of weaponry and equipment to a lot of these countries. Are they stepping up, or is it our men and women that are doing all the hard work? I don't know. So I don't know who else is helping us on this.
It's going to be us. It's always us. We're the policemen of the world. It's always going to be us.
Oh yeah. Well, there are significant. Well, for example, the Saudis have a significant military with military equipment, but in terms of actual fight, what they provide is mainly geography and support. They're probably throwing money into the process. The crazy thing about the Iranians, in terms of launching the missiles that they have, they even struck Muscat and Oman. And that country is notorious for being very peaceful-minded, always promoting peace in the Middle East. If you're a Christian or a Hindu, you can live peacefully in Oman.
well, that's sort of my point, Walt. Is they seem to be just throwing missiles in every direction, and a lot of these countries, like, what did we do to you?
Yes.
And so that becomes my question: is that again, their neighbors are the ones that are under direct threat, and are they stepping up to the plate? And I don't know, and I hope so, and I hope they're providing not only logistical support but financial support and things like that, because they're the ones that are in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
So, but anything else, Walt?
But there's conflict. There's general ongoing conflict between the Shiites in Iran versus the Sunnis. But amongst the Sunnis, they're fighting. It's not been covered by the American press media. I watch the foreign press, and there's a big war going on between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Both are predominantly Sunni Muslim countries. So there's ongoing conflicts, not just on religion, based on religious differences, but also just ethnicity type thing. It's a crazy place to be.
Yeah,
right, absolutely. So, hey, well, appreciate the call. Why don't we take a quick break, and we got a few more minutes here with Donna. Donna, if you got any questions or you guys want to chime in on what's going on in Iran, but we'll be back with more after this.
For over 100 years, Roofers Local 26 has been keeping Northwest Indiana dry and safe. Since 1919, our highly trained members have built a reputation for skills, safety, and reliability. With a 4-year apprenticeship and certifications in OSHA safety, first aid, and CPR, we deliver quality you can trust. When you need roofing done right, choose Roofers Local 26, protecting what matters most for over a century. For more information, visit www.roofers26.com.
Tech Credit Union supports the essential role of union labor in building strong communities. That's why we offer hassle-free banking, financial empowerment, and a commitment to your success. Save for the future, handle life's challenges, and trust a partner that stands by hardworking union members. Tech Credit Union, the better option for you and your money. Visit techcu.org or call 800-276-8324. Tech Credit Union, supporting union families every step of the way.
Introducing Powers Health, a health system with a new name and a strong legacy of caring for families in our community. One with a tradition of advanced specialized services and a vision for the future. One with a commitment to medical excellence and compassionate care. Everything we do, everything we believe, powers health.
Life's biggest challenges don't come with a warning. When legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards, you need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
Hey, 7:52 here in the region. You are here on a Monday, the winter of Chuck's discontent or disconnect or the spring of something. We have to rename. But Donna Dunn's here for a few more minutes. So if you want to talk to her, if you guys want to chime in on Iran. Now, obviously, I invited Donna in because, as I mentioned earlier, I respect you a lot. I respect your opinion, but also you are very much, your opinions are based in not your feelings towards one particular candidate or president or party. Your opinions are based on your knowledge and history and things like that. So I always appreciate that because that's one of the things you see over the weekend is just so many people just sort of dig in on their political beliefs.
Yeah.
And it becomes dangerous, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes very dangerous when we just, if you don't like the president, you're going to be against everything he does. If you like the president, you're going to be in favor of everything he does.
Yeah.
And that gets us nowhere.
I mean, we could talk about, they were talking about how this is illegal and blah, 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 blah. And I have a tendency to agree with that, but we've allowed it to happen.
It's been happening for how long?
It's been happening for how long?
Everybody's done it. Right.
Obama's done it. Biden did it. Bush did it. Clinton did it. I mean, does that make it right? No, absolutely not.
Well, and that becomes my big issue is like even, obviously there's a lot of people that attack the president and you have plenty of reasons to do that.
Right.
But also like this idea that he's the problem, get rid of him, and problem solved.
And everything's
right?
fixed.
Get rid of Biden. Problem. Like, no, you
Yeah.
have a system that needs to be fixed. We have a system, and then that's
we
the
have
problem.
people in Congress that have been there for 40, 50 years and haven't done nothing, haven't fixed anything except getting themselves reelected.
Right.
But one thing I did want to bring up is we talked a little bit about boots on the ground.
Right.
And something that a lot of people may not remember is during the Iran-Iraq war, that lasted, I believe, 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Iraq could not make inroads into Iran. They made it maybe 10 miles, 10, 20 miles. I could be wrong, but they didn't make it very far.
Well, I mean, even I would say, if you think this is going to be a walk in the park, look at
It is not.
But look at like even when the Soviet Union went into Afghanistan.
Oh yeah, we should have learned from that.
So look, like if you aren't old enough to remember, go read up on that. Go watch some YouTube videos or go read up on what happened when they had that confidence of get in, get out.
Yeah.
And that was just again, that's the thing is that I think we, even as we talk about the IEDs, we underestimated the resolve. We underestimated, and that was pre-drone. I mean, this is the thing is I was talking, you and I was talking earlier about, like with the Ukraine and Russia, how the drone, how drones have changed the theater of war.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's just like the IEDs, like you don't know how to defend yourself against them. You have to learn. And in the process, a lot of people are going to get injured and killed while we learn how to deal with drone warfare.
Right. And we also have a new weapon that we use in Venezuela.
Oh, yeah.
And, the one that, it basically puts you on your knees.
Yeah.
Doesn't, there's no bullets involved. I don't know.
Well, again, the joke is, though, I think there was a sonic weapon.
Yeah.
I was watching something the other day about, even how the Soviet Union used microwave weapons against our embassy and so stuff like that you don't even know about, you don't even hear about until you really dig into history and you learn about, or even this. And so the point was they used these microwave weapons against us. They also did something similar in Cuba, and we had to leave Cuba. But again, is that that all that stuff was a conspiracy theory until we use it.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, by the way, we have this.
We have the ability to do that.
But again, I know guys in the Navy. They've talked about all of they're experimenting with jamming systems to try to keep, because like you said earlier, the next thing is going to be drones attacking our ships.
Yeah. They've been able, luckily so far, they've been able to shoot them out of the sky.
Yeah.
Right around the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
And they're trying, and so that's Iran's goal is to shut down the strait.
Right.
And they're going to use their Navy. They're going to use drones, and so that becomes a big issue. Is you can really cripple the rest of the globe if you shut down oil traveling through that strait. Absolutely.
And there was a plan. I saw a video before of a plan to take out 7 countries in 5 years, and the last one on the list is Iran. So I watched an interview. I think it was I don't remember if it was on Sean Ryan or which show I was watching, but that's the plan. You have Iran, Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan,
North Korea, Venezuela.
Yeah. So you have all these countries, and Iran's the last one.
Right.
So I think that's part of it too. Is we have a plan that, of course, we're not privy to. But it's so aggravating that we can't come together as a country. And that was very well demonstrated on the State of the Union address. And I don't really watch them anymore because it's all lies anyway, no matter who's up there. But when I saw the video of them not standing for our troops, I was so mad. And don't think I won't bring it up to Mervan when I see him, because I will.
Well, he's not coming on Mondays. Maybe he'll come on Friday.
I doubt it.
Tell him I said hi.
Yeah. But it's, our China was at here recently. I don't remember if I mentioned this or not. They were looking at selling a drone to Iran that could penetrate the hulls of our ships. And I don't know that they've sold it to them yet, because in Iran you have 3 people in charge now instead of 1.
Right.
And these 3 guys don't always agree. They're from different. I think one's a Sunni, one's they're from different factions in Iran, and one's a religious guy. So you had one guy calling the shots before, now you don't. So who's calling the shots? And second of all, who, first of all, who's calling the shots? And second of all, what is their, I'm sure we've done stuff to knock out their communication lines,
Right.
or tried to anyway. And who makes these decisions? And I'm afraid that what's going to happen is the way their constitution is written is that in order to appoint a new Ayatollah, they have to meet and vote. And after how their last meeting went, I don't see them holding a meeting anytime soon. But I'm afraid that that's what we're going to end up with.
Well, and that's always the thing is that, we have this idea of, cut the head off the snake and then everybody's going to come to the streets. They're going to have a democratic election and dance in the streets.
That hasn't worked since we tried it.
All you do is create a power vacuum. All you do is create a civil war, especially like you said, when you have a country that has different religious beliefs or different, factions, they're not going to come together and say, yeah, let's have a democratic election. No, that doesn't work. It never has worked.
It never has. Even though they have protesters they had protesters on the streets, and then all these college kids. I think it was mostly the college kids, and they wanted to, they're tired of being oppressed.
Right.
And I don't blame them.
And one of the other things I was thinking about is, to Walt's point, is that there are going to be people. Now you talk about pre-1979 Iran. As time progresses, those people that were there and remember what Iran was, they're going to not be around, and the young people are just going to expect, like, this is my Iran, not this is what it could have been. Just like pre-revolution Cuba or anything like that. Like, this is what we could be again if we had democratic elections.
And it goes back to too is their access to information is so restricted, just like it is in North Korea.
Right.
So they think their leaders do no wrong and everything is fine.
Right. So let's take a call and then we got to go. So good morning, caller. You're on the air.
I don't think you guys realize who you're talking about. You're not talking about.
Oh, you didn't think you can get out without a phone call from Mad Mac, right?
No.
Hey, before you start, it is 8 o'clock in the region. You're listening to AM 1230, 104.7 FM in beautifully rustic Hammond, Indiana. And now here's Mad Mac. Go ahead. Tell me how I'm wrong about literally everything.
You're not talking about some weak-kneed Democrat who wants to go over there and offer these guys a loaf of bread and go, hey, would you guys mind stop shooting and stop funding terrorism throughout the world? And you're not talking about a guy like Bush. Even I hate to even say back to Ronald Reagan. You're talking about Donald J. Trump. He drew a line in the sand and said, you're going to have to stop doing this. And then he sent two of the most sophisticated airplanes that man has ever seen and destroyed their nuclear capability.
And then they shot down two of ours over the weekend.
I'll finish here, and then you can go back to your very passive, pathetic discussion.
Oh, wow.
But we blew up their entire nuclear capability system. And then they said, come to the table. You guys are going to have to stop shooting missiles at people. And if you don't, we are going to turn your place into a Walmart parking lot. The clock is ticking.
I've never heard that before.
And when they realized in the middle of a Saturday, on a Saturday morning, while these guys were having, Panera
watching cartoons
for their big meeting, when they realized they were there, they said, go. And off went the Jews and blasted these guys into smithereens, which is what they're doing with virtually every single military capability that this country has, which will now, in a week or so, will be done.
Let me ask you a question.
They will never, ever have the capability to do anything. This isn't Bill Clinton with a 21-year-old stuffed under his desk. This isn't Barack Obama claiming, the Muslims, the big contributions to the United States of America and the world. Like what, they invented the self-exploding party fest?
Take a breath and let me ask you.
Donald Trump,
I get it.
and he's
I get
gonna
it.
end
But
this
here's
and take care of it.
Let me ask you a hypothetical. Let's say he doesn't end it right away and it gets dragged out. What happens in 3 years? What's President Newsom or President Pritzker, President fill in the blank? What's going to happen if this gets dragged out for 3 years, like they tend to do?
Yep.
What happens?
Well, if I had my way,
President
I'd be
Mad
voting
Mac.
for Donald Trump again for another
I know you would, but we do have a constitution. I apologize. Go ahead.
How about we just look at the results we've gotten out of the guy in his first term when he had every single Democrat and everybody in the deep state working against the guy. They tried to pin everything in the world on this guy, and nothing stuck. And now he had a plan. He spent the prior 4 years while he was out of office putting everything together.
But you're on the
it's
clock.
The most magnificent plan
I
since
get that.
George Washington.
Right.
To take care
Mission
and
accomplished.
benefit the
I
United
know, I
States
get it.
of America.
But my point is, what if this does get dragged out? You're on the clock with this man. He's got 3 years. Then what? What happens in 3 years? I mean, do you remember? I mean, years ago we were talking about. You mentioned our former congressman and the pallets of cash in the Iranian deals. Like again, you're assuming that you're going to have
the president then.
And that's what I'm asking you. What is President Pritzker or President Newsom, et cetera, going to do if this gets dragged out for 3 years?
That's something we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, the bridge of Iran being a terrorist nation, destroying everything they touch at the detriment of every other human being on planet Earth, is coming to an end very quickly. And I got to tell you, that's a good thing for everybody. 95% of the people in Iran are against the Ayatollah and the entire organization that they have there. Those people live in abject poverty.
Well, and we all agree, in a perfect world, you would cut the head off the snake and they'd come and dance in the streets and have a democratic election. And I hope you're right. I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong. But we got to go. Appreciate the call. Donna, thank you so much for coming in.
You're very welcome.
We got to do it again sometime.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Next time we blow something up, I'll give you a call. How about that? I'd say 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, right.
But again, or maybe a month from now or 2 months from now, we'll be revisiting this because now we are boots on the ground.
Yep.
And I hope it doesn't come to that. Again, as I said, I've got a son who's about to turn 18. I take this stuff very seriously. It's different when it's your kid and not you.
Right.
We all signed up. I signed up. You signed up. And if I that's what I always say. It's like, I don't know if my son came to me soon and said, I want to go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. I mean, again, I don't know.
I know it's a tough decision. It was tough for for my mom to let me go.
No, my mom cried. She's like, you're not a soldier. I go, well, that's what they're gonna. That's what we're gonna do.
Why do you want to go? And we had that discussion.
Well, I kept telling her, I said, I'm a computer guy. They're going to put me behind a desk and with a computer and a joystick or something. But again, I mean, it's tough. And
it's tough when I had nieces and nephews that are available to go. And that worries me.
Right.
It does. And and Mad Mac, I have to bring this up. I'm sorry, Mad Mac. He was talking about the Iran's weapons, and supposedly we destroyed their nuclear capabilities last year, but Netanyahu's been saying since the late 80s, early 90s, in 3 to 5 years, Iran will have the ability to have nuclear weapons, and that doesn't happen. In 3 to 5 years, he kept saying it. Every 3 to 5 years, they're going to have nuclear weapons, and it never happened. There's a lot of things that go into that, and I'm sure we had a hand in that never happening. But
I call that the boogeyman. You always have to have a boogeyman.
We always have to have a boogeyman, and there's this shooting down in I believe it was in Texas.
In Austin, we had a shooting. I think it was 3 dead.
And now they're trying to say the guy was a terrorist. Was he? I don't know. I hope not.
Is he part of the sleeper cell network we're hearing about?
Yeah.
Is that I mean, again, that becomes a thing. It's, now it's getting real. Now you go into Austin. I have friends in Austin. You go to Chicago. It's like, is this something we have to worry about now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, is this the retaliation that we're hearing about? So, but thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Chuck. I really appreciate it.
Hopefully I don't see you again soon, but if I do, it's going to be because something bad happened.
Okay.
So thank you so much. We'll be back
welcome.
with more after this.
Do you like to work with your hands, creating something from nothing? Then think about Laborers Local 41. You'll get 432 hours of apprenticeship training, all while earning a wage with benefits and incurring no student debt. You'll travel to different job sites, learn tons of skills, and in a lot of cases, be the first one on and the last one off a job site. It all starts at laborers41.com.
Are you sausage curious?